So I'm here with Pete Sadler of Midas, Behringer, all that good stuff, and we are checking out this synthesizer here, the Behringer DeepMind 12. And what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of go through the features and a lot of the questions that I've been getting online about this thing. So the first thing I want to do is just kind of ask you about the oscillator section before I get into anything else. Now, tell me a little bit about the Dco design on this thing.
Yeah, it's two DCOs, a main and a sub, but the sub's a little more advanced than normal. So here we've got a saw, pulse, and the second part here that people ask a lot about is it's a pulse, but it's got a tone mod which kind of had a metallic fifth overtone. So it's a little bit more advanced. You can set the pitch going on, you can set the amount. So it's quite interesting. It really gives quite a lot of good stuff to pads and things like that. So that's the DCO section.
Now the modulation on this thing, how does modulation relate to oscillators on this? Do you have any kind of modulation for that?
You mean cross mod between the oscillators?
Yeah, cross mod and just modulation destinations, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean there's no cross mod between the two, but you can use the LFOs. They go up into audio rate, and if you key sync on the keyboard, they can go a lot higher than you expect. So you can get to the kilohertz ranges. Sort of like FM type sounds.
So just the general build of this thing, let's talk about that. So the price point's really low. We're talking what, $999, right? And it's heavy. How does that factor? Did you guys have to factor in the fact of how heavy this thing is in keeping the price point low?
I mean, not really. I mean, obviously we wanted good build quality, and when we discussed it with Ulan, he wanted a synth that he was proud of. So we wanted to be good. We wanted real wood end cheeks. We wanted decent metal. I'm hitting that quite hard there. We wanted a synth we wanted to buy. So we wanted good quality. I think the thing that's been hard is how small it is, fitting everything in. That has been definitely an engineering challenge.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be able to open it up at some point. Do you think?
Yeah,
we can do it?
I think you and I need to agree a few things there. I mean, obviously it's a prototype and engineering sample, and I wouldn't want to get a bad impression. But I don't mind kind of doing that privately with you, and then we'll definitely open one up with you at some point.
Now the screen. Can you tell us a little bit about the animation and everything that's going on here? Because it's really cool.
Well, it's kind of partially my fault there. What we wanted to do is have a little bit of fun and to kind of give a little bit of a visual indication of what was happening. And and if you hit things like unison detune, you got that very 80s style stuff going on there. And if you hit these there, you can see that the sync between there. So an idea that things are kind of drifting about and fluid. And just when you touch, when you play with the DeepMind, it's a very, very interactive thing, and I think when you're playing with things, it's really nice to get some visual feedback to what's happening. So it's just a bit of fun, really, to make it a bit more human,
Let's talk about the modulation matrix while we're looking at the screen, because that's really where having a big screen kind of comes into play. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the modulation, and can you go positive and negative with your modulations? Like how does that all work?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's 8 modulation buses. Pretty much anything's a modulation destination. There's about 130. It keeps going up. It was 132 when I last counted in the code. Probably going to go up again.
132 destinations? Wow.
Yeah. I can't remember the sources. It's like 30 or 40. And again, we kind of picked all the things you'd really, really want to do. So, DCO drift, unison detune, even the modulation amounts of the modulation matrix is a modulation destination. The effects, they can all be modulated, so every parameter on the effects, I think there's only a few bits and pieces that can't be modulated in the effects, but it is almost everything.
Can you show me there's a very fast way to assign modulations. Can you show me that little quick key setup?
Yeah, so if you hold it down here, you've got typically a button here, so you can press the button there and you select the source. So here I've got the LFO, or it's a unipolar version of the LFO there, and if I want a destination, I just hit a fader, and I say in this case, let's hit unison detune there. So that I've routed the LFO over to unison detune, and then you hit the data entry there, and that's the amount there of the modulating bind, I'm done.
So you can really do it with basically like 2 button presses and a knob slide, and you're good.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, because obviously there's a lot of stuff in there. You don't want it to be a menu diver again, as some people have been saying. We want it to be like a really responsive, interactive keyboard to play with.
Sure. I've been getting a lot of questions about the how it sounds without the effects. Right.
Yeah.
We'll get into the effects in a minute, but
Sure.
how it sounds without the effects.
Yeah.
What were some of the tweaks that you guys wanted to do to things like the filter and whatnot? Because I know it's not a direct 1-to-1 copy, but were there some deeper changes as far as what you guys were doing to get the filter to sound the way it sounds? And
I mean, it's been adjusted. I mean, the resonance has certainly been adjusted. How many times has that been adjusted? Rob, about 10 times or something. So before we've decided, and we're asking people, is that too much? Is that too low? So that's been fiddled with a lot. But the original actual hardware design, I don't think it's changed that much from the original one you did.
Right from when we had the little breadboard circuit, it sounded really dirty because it was wires everywhere. But it was like, there's something there.
Yeah.
We produced the first boards, and it was like, that's just fine. Really like that.
So again, getting back to the build quality, what is the deal with the wood? Where is this being sourced from? Like, it's really thick, nice looking wood sides. Is the actual production module, is the wood going to look similar?
I mean, we hope so. I mean, this is a prototype version, so I'm not sure of the final finish there. And these are there's only 4 wood end cheeks at the moment that we've actually got, so it's hard to tell at this stage. But it's still a handmade sample, so the intention is it will look like this, or very, very, very close.
So what are some features on here that you personally are excited about? What are some things that you feel like separate the DeepMind 12 from other synthesizers?
Probably something everyone's going to hate, but I love the effects, and I know that's not a very analogy thing to say, but I love the fact that you can play with the effects and modulate them. So for me, it kind of provides that extra thing. On analog synths, you typically can't do that. I mean, I don't think of any you can do that with. But you've got so many options. I mean, guys have been adding reverb tails on the mod wheels. They've been adjusting compressor thresholds. They've been playing with additional Midas EQs and the effects and sweeping them.
Yeah, and you can just use the data slider to change between routing of the order of your effects on the fly, right?
Yeah, so I mean, here we've got the data slider up there. So if you see the number of different slots and how you can fit the effects together here, including these shimmer ones here. I mean, hopefully you can hear that afterwards. But you get some amazing effects there just by doing that. Because one of the things, I mean, we make mixing consoles, and nobody ever listens to a live synth without it going through an EQ.
Yeah.
And no one ever listens to it recorded without going through a compressor. So one of the things is saying, well, okay, let's put console quality effects in the actual synth itself, so people can use it dry. Because when we've been talking to artists, they always stick old synths through EQ and compressors. So, well, hey, let's do that straight away, and you can dry straight in.
So can you tell me a little bit about the fact that you guys are Midas? So your history is in like mixing consoles and really some high end gear. So how much of that critical thinking and critical listening, came into selecting effects and selecting what you were going to put in there?
Well, I mean, we're in the very, very enviable position that we listened to how many, about 120 different effects.
Yeah, we went through all the next things, effects. Tick, we'll have those.
These are appropriate, and I mean, again, it wasn't something that we put something in because we could. It's because we put something in because we felt it was relevant to the synthesizer and something that sounded good and something we would enjoy playing with. So,
how many different effects are in there total?
Like
32, different types.
32.
32, yeah.
And they're all good quality. I mean, there's not a bad sounding effect in there. So, and there's more to come as well. So.
And they're based around TC Electronic stuff, right?
Some are TC Electronic. Some are from the X32 by the German team, in Behringer. Some are from Midas, from Rob's team. So there's a range of things. Some from Part Technic. So we've got quite a range of effects, and we're kind of really, really pleased about that.
So this is not your first product with Behringer. You guys did the X32 range, right?
I mean, we did the German team developed the X32. We helped do the iPad app, and then we've collaborated on consoles pretty much ever since. We have a great working relationship with the German team. So.
That's another thing that I wanted to ask you guys about is the Wi-Fi iPad app functionality of it. So we were talking earlier, you were telling me that we can actually trigger the synth remotely using this. And you can do MIDI over Wi-Fi with it, right?
That's right, yeah.
That's going to be really nice. Will the app be available at the same day that you launch the DeepMind in stores?
Better I'd be, yeah. I mean, ultimately I'm responsible for it, so I mean it will be. That's the intention.
Is it a paid app or is it free, or like how's that going to work out?
We don't charge for apps. It's part of it. We don't charge the software that should be part of the.
So if people just want to kind of get a look inside of the synth as far as what can be modulated and that sort of thing, you can buy the app ahead of time and check that stuff out. Download it for free, and check that stuff out, and you'll kind of get an idea of like some of the possibilities that you have right there.
And of course, it'll be cross-platform as well. So whether it's on day one, I'm not sure, but it's certainly will be for Mac, for PC, for some Android. That's always a difficult topic, but yeah, Android devices as well. We're going to have a separate one for the iPhone as well. So
you also have a way of quickly like A/B comparing patches on here as well, right?
Yeah, do you want to show that, Rob?
Yeah, there's a compare mode, so you can line up all your faders. Obviously, that switches between your stored and live settings, and you can go through, line up all your faders so that they match the stored version. It shows you which way to move it. There we go, line that up. So it automatically switches pages. We've actually got a little nice feature in there that if you're doing some editing and you accidentally change the patch, you're like, I've lost all my settings. You hit compare, you get your edited patch back.
Now, for guys that are like sound designers that want to store patches and name them and everything, you can freely go between the app and sending it to a computer librarian and
everything. There's comprehensive sysx dump capabilities. The app, obviously, it's a little bit easier editing names when you've got an app and a nice keyboard there.
So one of the synth nerdy things that I was doing on this thing, I spent probably like 2 hours on this thing yesterday, is high resonance and sweeping the filter slowly, listening for stepping. Everybody that knows me knows that I get really irritated if it steps. I'm not hearing any stepping, so you guys kind of took that into account when you built this, right? Yeah. That was something that,
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to feel analog. It's an analog synth. You don't expect it to step to be able to hear the stepping, and that was really important for me to make it feel analog. So yeah, we've taken some steps to completely eliminate that stepping as you're moving the fader.
Can you tell me a little bit about bass boost on here, and basically what exactly is it doing inside of there when we turn it on?
Well, the original Juno 106 had a switched high pass, so there's like three or four positions. In the bottom position, there was a little bass boost low shelf filter.
Sure.
So we've added that as a separate on-off switch, and it just lifts. It's almost a bell. It's not quite a low shelf, so it rolls off about 20-30 hertz.
Yeah.
Up to about 100 hertz. So it gives you that nice warm bass, which is often missing from songs.
And the key bed is directly from you guys, right? It's not any other brand. It's you guys. I've played on the key bed for a while now, and I've actually been really enjoying it. I'm going to try and get in close here, and you can see there's not a lot of key wobble in here, So like some other companies, their keys are like all over the place and really kind of light. Will this do aftertouch? It does do aftertouch.
Note off velocity and aftertouch.
Okay, excellent. And that's I assume that's all a destination that you can assign, and wonderful.
Yeah, there's a few kind of preset. So there's a built-in aftertouch to LFO depth. Mod wheel to LFO depth, so the typical modulation when you push hard or when you move the mod fader, there's preset routings for that, so you don't need to dive in to the mod matrix to do some of those things.
Very nice. And the envelopes on here, we have 3 envelopes, and they're digital envelopes.
They are.
And you can kind of really shape shape the curves on them quite a bit, right?
So if I lift up the attacker in time mode, if I switch to curves, I can then adjust the slope on each segment. And then the sustain has a gradual decay or release. I'll just lift that level up a little bit. See that? So it's almost a 5-stage, with that extra decay on the sustain. And you see at the top as well, we've got this trigger parameter, so you can traditionally, trigger it from the keys or from the LFOs, or loop the envelope, or trigger it from the control sequencer, which is kind of nice when you're using the control sequencer to modulate the oscillator pitch. You can have it play a little melody, and then you can trigger the envelopes on each stage of the control sequencer, which is quite useful.
And when you set up unison modes on here, you can set up basically any free amount of unison on here, right?
Yeah, so you've got poly, unison 2, 3, 6, 12, and mono modes as well, so where you just want to reuse the same voices, playing monophonic style, it works really nicely.
I think there was quite a few questions about the mono mode and how it triggers the envelope as well. It's worth mentioning that it's got quite a few modes there.
If we switch down there, we've got...
So the mono modes that you have there, it's all coming down to a different way that the envelopes are being triggered and which stage you're at.
So your mono, it carries on from wherever it got to, which is typical mono synth style. Retrigger forces the envelope to restart. Legato, so it doesn't restart unless you release all the keys. And there's a one shot as well, which is quite useful for doing percussive drum type sounds where the note duration has no effect on the envelope, it just always cycles through the same.